So welcome to VNN again, Praveen. It's been some time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more than a year, I think,
It's about, I
and
think, 16 months now.
we've been sort of stranded at home doing
Yes, I
nothing.
mean, our VNN discussion series was going on very well at that time
Yeah,
until COVID interrupted
yeah,
us. And
COVID interrupted all our lives, and I think we all have to sort of take out 1 year of our lives as of
yeah,
this
but of
time.
course, if we have done something useful in that 1 year, of course, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would put on some centimeters that which is not useful.
And of course, you stopped coloring your hair and
Yes,
that's
started looking wiser at least.
looking wiser. Yes, I know. Yeah, I devoted my time to some book research, and I think another book should be coming out in maybe October.
Good,
So
good,
planning
good.
on that now.
We welcome that book.
So,
Let's see how soon it comes in.
so
And I
anyway.
understand it's a sort of a uh, diabolic scheme,
Oh yes, oh yes, oh
something
yes,
intriguing.
murder and killings and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's why I grew my beard.
Oh,
Anyway, so I think we'll have to start our discussion series again, and I think we'll start off with what you want to COVID or start off directly into the main news, Afghanistan and the Taliban. I think it's very
yeah.
lively to you.
I mean, COVID, of course, we've already more or
Talk
less
about it.
spoken
So
about
let us get
quite
into
a
the
bit.
Taliban dilemma, or I don't know whether that's a solution to the world's problems or going to be big riddle or a big problem.
It is a riddle at the moment, and it has suddenly come up. Not suddenly, Taliban had been there.
Yeah, Praveen, there's this new theory, being floated around saying the Americans left these billions of dollars worth of weapons so that the Taliban can use it against China and against Iran. So they're playing a sort of a master game here. Do you think that's possible?
Well, as you started and said in the right, it's a theory, and we'll have to see how this theory works out because everything is in a flux and it's moving forward, rolling forward, and we don't know which way it will go. But in my view, I don't see any concrete future in this theory because China and Russia both and Iran are all in the forefront already, looking towards greater interaction with Talibans, and the Talibans also have welcomed them. China is ready to put in as much money as they
Yeah,
want,
for their
and the Russians are there, the Turks are there, Iranians are there. So I would more think about the fact that they left in a haste and they couldn't carry on.
So do you think, I mean, that so India is the biggest loser in that South Asian region, in that Central Asian region?
India, I would say there is a question of some miscalculation by the policymakers in India. But then again, uh, one cannot call it a policy calculation. Things have moved in such a way that our developmental efforts
Yeah.
in Afghanistan have been nullified by a sudden takeover of Taliban's. We have been, India has put in so much of money, so much of development. As a matter of fact, it is the biggest donor in Afghanistan from that region, around $2 billion or so.
3 billion last. Yeah.
Two plus, yes.
Okay. And then they build dams and schools and
You
hospitals
talk
and
of any development effort from industries to major
the
infrastructure
Afghan
work,
parliament itself.
parliament
Hmm.
itself. So, but at this juncture, that developmental effort has been nullified because of the fact that Taliban have usurped the power. And now our developmental effort, which was more of democratization of the society,
Which I think they don't want it.
has gone into a
Yeah,
reverse
yeah.
gear.
Yeah, so they don't want a democracy.
They don't
That's
want
what's,
it. They want the Sharia law.
yeah.
They want the Sharia law, although they are making all the right efforts to gain acceptability. The Taliban one had only three countries which had recognized.
Yeah, in the beginning, yeah. Saudis
Pakistan, Saudi,
and
and UAE.
UAE.
At present, nobody has recognized because there is no government at present.
Yeah.
But then they are looking towards gaining acceptance of so many countries, including India. They have already made their moves towards Indian
Yeah,
acceptance, and they have spoken to the Doha representative has spoken to our ambassador in Doha, and therefore, the one India, we can see that there is a intermediate position which can be
So
taken.
the problem here is if India recognizes its government, it is sort of, it can be considered legitimizing whatever the policies the Taliban will follow later.
Recognition is a thing which is to be first. The country has to be formed.
Yeah, the government, yeah.
And then one would see. At present, I don't see any move towards recognition by any country other than maybe Pakistan or Iran or Russia and all these countries. But that stage will come after a government is formed and the government announces what they are willing
Yeah.
to do, and then they make moves to accept recognitions and from various countries.
But some sort of engagement will have to be done by India, isn't it?
Yeah, engagement has already started. You see,
And
we are
another-
talking to,
yeah.
you see, there are back channel.
That's true.
That is always there. But here we have a frontline interaction also because in Doha we have a representative. He is not an ambassador, he is not an accredited politician from the Taliban government. So that sort of interaction has already started. And those sort of interactions will keep on going on till we find a common ground. And because India has such a large stakes in Afghanistan, in that region, because of the regional politics of that area, because of the Pakistan's involvement,
Balochistan
because
issue.
of the Haqqani
Network, yeah.
involvement over there, and we have to make sure that Afghanistan does not become a center point or base of promoting terrorism in the region and all over the world. Of course, the Security Council has already passed a resolution saying that these things have to be taken.
But you see, the Al Qaeda, which is aligned with the Taliban, now they've said they want to liberate Kashmir and liberate Palestine. So Indian policymakers will have to decide what to do with that.
I don't know how much relevant Al Qaeda is at the moment. The more relevant wing of the conservative party is the ISIS
Yeah, that's true.
which is more powerful, and Al Qaeda and ISIS-K have traditionally been opposing
it's opposite.
Taliban. So they have been their statement does not
make any
much
mind into
to
us.
that is something which somebody put it in the speech.
Another thing we noticed last a week or so, no Indian government spokesman has mentioned Taliban as a terrorist entity. Apparently, in Indian news channels, I think BJP spokespersons are being asked, why is the government not considering Taliban as terrorists, not classifying them as terrorists? Because I think maybe because they have taken
That would be what you call it a strategic
strategic
restraint.
response. Yes, true.
Strategic restraint, where you don't want to say something till things are
aggravate the situation.
more clear. So one is waiting to see what Taliban is able to present itself as.
What about the resistance? The national, the Northern Alliance of Masood should
The Panjshir has always been,
Yes.
even when all Afghan governments have these problems from
with
the north.
Panjshir, yeah.
So I don't know what will happen over there because it's still a very small faction.
Yeah.
And how they will get more support. And
They are fighting because yesterday it seems some 200 Taliban were killed in the Panjshir Valley area.
Yeah, so that is the resistance which, and Afghanistan has always been like this.
So what's a
It
country
has
of
not been
warlords, isn't it? Fighting.
ruled by one particular entity, and therefore it's always been considered the graveyard of empires even.
Yeah.
So Panjshir still remains, and there is a resistance over there. But then again, it's a that is, you can also put it as a terrorist organization. This is also a terrorist organization. They'll fight amongst each other. But then now there's so many people. Al Qaeda is there, ISIS-K is there, this resistance is there, and Taliban is there. So let's see again. The conundrum of warlords is again over there. So Taliban has to come out of it.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
First of all, they have to form a government. They have, I think, I don't have the name. But they have been designated a supreme commander.
Yes, yeah.
On the Iranian line, that there will be a supreme commander.
And the political commander.
So hopefully within the next week, they will have a government, and then they will the government will sort of start making
Yeah.
right.
And now coming to Canada, the election, the campaign is going on. Yeah, now coming to Canada, I mean, who do you think will be ahead in the elections now? Because the campaign is going full swing.
I don't
What's
have
up?
that ball to predict, and
Some
it
analysis
it's
maybe?
still too early to predict anything because we are only halfway, and the main campaign will come 2 or 3 days before. But at the moment, as you would say, it looks like a hung parliament once again.
Yeah.
Because 30%, 30%, 20% plus block होगा, nobody seems to be in control of the majority. Uh, Trudeau was able to manage a majority in 2014 despite of
Yeah.
the fact that NDP had a major share of votes,
Right.
and he sort of took them out at the last moment.
That is
Whether he's
during
able
Jack,
to do that trick again.
Jack Layton's time.
Huh?
During Jack Layton's time in Quebec in 2014, that was Jack Layton?
No, it was somebody else.
Yeah, Ed,
I'm
oh,
forgetting
forget
the
the name.
name,
Ed
yeah.
Broadbent? No,
He,
forget his name.
poor fellow, he had to leave
Yeah,
ultimately.
yeah.
So it is at the moment advantage conservatives. They are taking the advantage of the elections being announced at a time where people are not so happy about it.
Yeah.
So despite of the fact that conservatives were a bit low in their count, have gained a little bit.
Problem is
But
this,
this
yeah.
momentum, I don't know how long it will continue.
The problem is the percentage of voting. You know, in last every election just won't go beyond 60%. There's low percentage of voting in Canada.
That is the problem of all democracies.
All democracies, yeah.
It
So
happens
that's
in
true.
India also, it happens in USA. Ultimately, people say that the results will depend on how many people the respective parties are able to get out from the houses and
Yeah,
get to vote.
that's true.
The more people get out to vote, then
But whatever happens, I think Canada is a stable democracy. I think that's the main thing that matters in the end. You know,
yeah, agree.
whichever party comes to power, the major policies remain the same.
Major policies remain the same. And that is true for even India.
India, all democracies, yeah, it's true.
Work that way because if, even though ideologies change,
Bureaucracy, the police, the army, those are all solid
they're
institutions.
heavy
Yeah.
weights which
Which keep the country going.
moving in
Yeah,
one
that's true.
direction. So policies will not change, but then in a hung parliament, what happens is that then, like at present, Trudeau has to look at NDP
Yeah, for support.
for their support for getting anything passed. So that control is there, and any prime minister would like to have a free hand. So that is the difference only. So if you want Trudeau in control, then vote for Jagmeet.
Anyway, I think we'll end our discussion for today. And thank you, Ambassador Verma. And it's been a pleasure to have you again
Nice seeing you once again
in the VNN studios. Yeah.
in sort of jungle.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a pleasure again. And I think we'll continue our
Yeah,
the
now we
discussions series. And until next week.
Yeah, next week.
Thank